Hello everybody, how you doing? My name is Michael, and today we're going to be continuing on this playthrough of Dark Souls 2 by going to Harvest Valley and defeating one of the most pitiful bosses I've ever seen in a Souls game. This boss is called the Covetous Demon, and he is quite a sight. He is pretty ridiculous looking, and I would, well, you just have to take a look at him. You just have to take a look at him. This is probably a good time to launch into what I wanted to say about the bosses in Dark Souls 1, 2, and Demon Souls. I am actually, and I know this may shock you, not all that happy with the bosses in Demon Souls. I was quite disappointed by them, to be honest, because I thought that a significant number of them were, well, a little bit too easy from what I had gotten used to with the other Souls games, and I wasn't happy with them. Now, I have to stress that again, I do think that Demon Souls is a masterpiece of a game. It's absolutely great. I loved it. However, I do have criticisms of it, and quite a few of the bosses were bad, I thought. Most especially in the Valley of Defilement. The final boss of that area, the Maiden Estraya, is absolutely incredible. It is one of the best boss fights in gaming history, but only because of the story, not really because of anything else. The story, by the way, is one of the best lore things I've ever seen in an RPG game. It is absolutely incredible. I loved every second of it. And, if you haven't played Demon Souls, PS3s are getting cheaper by the day. Go and find a way to play that, because it really is incredible. But the boss fights leading up to it are essentially non-existent. There really are no boss fights leading up to that point. They're just sort of, they're big blobby enemies. One of them, the first one in the VOD, I call them Mr. Oogie Boogie boss fight, because that's what he looks like. He looks like Mr. Oogie Boogie from Nightmare on Elm Street, and and a bunch of the other bosses in other areas are just not satisfying. So I don't think it's fair to necessarily criticize the bosses in Dark Souls 2 as being lame, although they certainly are repetitive in terms of how they look. But again, Dark Souls 1 is that perfect porridge where they looked really unique and interesting, and the battles were really unique and interesting. And I should note that the Storm King boss fight in Demon Souls is my second favorite boss fight in the entire Souls series, after Ornstein and Smough. Now you'll see the Claymore that I have here, we've significantly depowered us, even though this is mostly up to the same level as the Greatsword, just one down, but it also has poor scaling. It's a C and a C. In Demon Souls, there was something called quality scaling, and making a quality build was someone who had an equal amount of dexterity and strength, and that was a perfectly viable way to play the game. In Dark Souls 1, though, this changed considerably, and the game told you pretty much that you really ought to change to either a strength-focused or dex-focused character and not be in the middle. You still could kinda do it, but it wasn't where it was. And in Dark Souls 2, there's almost no point to having that split damage. Even in some of the places that do have it. Such as the Sun Sword, the sword that we get for being in the Warriors of Sun Covenant, it's not quite the same as going pure strength or pure dex. Now this next boss, the Covetous Demon, also known as the Slug Demon, also known as Jabba the Demon, also known as the Demon of Belly Flops, is a particularly ridiculous and ludicrous looking monster who is keeping on in the trend of this game of fat equaling grotesque. And not only is he one of the easiest bosses in the game, but mysteriously, they also made him very easy to cheese. He can actually be defeated very, very simply by cheating. I mean, not cheating, but making him unable to fight back. and we're going to show that right now. I have some heavy bolts, and you need heavy bolts or heavy arrows in order to do this little trick, and I'm going to show you that right now. Look up immediately when you start, and you'll see the hanging pots there. Fire your heavy bolts or heavy arrows, and you will break a hollow out of them. And there he is, Jabba the Demon. And if you shoot all 4 of them up there, he will not have any time to fight against you during the entire fight. And he's just going to sit there, and, I mean, we're doing almost 450 damage. I mean, think of how much we'd be doing with the Greatsword. I'm just going to kill him regularly from now on. He can also roll over into the side and do a belly flop, which I think he's going to do now. Yes, he is. He can do some damage. I mean, it's not that he's doing no damage exactly. It's just that, you know, he's not really that frightening. Now, one of the only attacks that can actually scare you, and I don't know if I can bait him into doing it or not. I think you have to stand directly in front of him, is he will lick his tongue out in front of you and disarm and disrobe you. That's all of your armor will suddenly be unequipped and be in your backpack. But I don't know if I can get him to do that. He's trying my patience, as it is. Yeah, pathetic. Completely pathetic. But again, there were a lot of bosses in Demon Souls that were not quite as pathetic looking, but were still not hard to fight. I mean, the first 2 bosses in the Valley of Defilement were outrageously easy to defeat. I mean, they were pathetic how quickly they can be defeated. One of them can even just be cheesed with arrows at range from the top of the stairs that you go down to see him. Let's talk to Lucatiel again. Hello, honey. How you doing? She's put her mask back on. She's going to give us something good. Oh, you can never burden me, Lucatiel. And that is a great ring. But let's talk with her. Yeah, she's going completely insane now. The hollowing is really happening.
First, the curse is doing its work upon me. I am frightened. Terribly so. If everything should fade, what will be left of me? I had an older brother. We learned to fence together. He became the most decorated swordsman in all of Mirror. I never even compared to him. In fact, I never beat him. Not once. But then, one day, he was gone. Lost without a trace. Now I'm certain that he was taken by the curse. If only someone would hear my tale. My brother must have come here, too. Soon I may forget even about him. If only someone would hear my... Soon I may forget even about him.
Okay, so that's pretty much over. And sadly, we learn that Lucatiel's brother has also gone crazy with the undead curse. And this may be what drove her to come here originally. Maybe before she was hollowed, or maybe afterwards, I don't really know. Presumably afterwards. I don't know if you could come here if you were still alive. I got the impression in Dark Souls 1 you could go there even if you were still alive to claim souls. But, well, whatever happened, let's take a look at what we got. We got the Ring of Steel Protection, which greatly increases your physical defense. That's one of the best rings in the game. I really love it. It's essential if you're running a character like a wizard and you only want to have some basic cloth robes around with him. It's very, very useful. I really, really like it. It's something that you're definitely going to want to have. I don't remember, actually, where you get the regular Ring of Steel Protection, because, no, actually I don't. There's another one of those beetle guys down here. And he's guarding an item. Is that some spice? Yes, it is. Skeptic spice. Let me be a skeptic, but still want to cast faith spells. Alrighty. You don't have to go up here. There's really no point. It's just sort of a gank, and I think the only reward you get from it is a joke. It's like a torch or something. And, you know, I just feel that there were less areas like this in Dark Souls 1, where I just would not go to them, because I knew from playing the game that it was obviously just a troll, and there was nothing there for you to get. Let's see, I think it is... Oh my god, it's a trap. Fuck! It's even worse than I thought. Always have your shield out when you open a chest, just in case. Yeah, it's just a torch. Although we do get a life gem here. Now, the next area that I'm going to here, you don't need to come here by any means. It's just a little optional area, and it's actually kind of hard to get to, because you have to leap over this. And remember what I said about the jumping in this game. It will get you killed. And when you land, I think unlike in Dark Souls 1, you may have noticed that you sort of roll when you land after you jump. And that roll can kill you. You may land on target, but then roll off of it, which I really, really don't like. I wish there was a way to mitigate that somehow, that roll. But I'm just going to try this. Maybe I can get over there, maybe not. Oh, I got very lucky. And the only reason you would want to come to this area is that there is an enemy here, which I think we can see, hopefully without aggroing him. There he is, called a mannequin. And these mannequins are headless, essentially constructs that were created, I think, by a king and queen long ago. And you'll notice that they're wielding some sort of strange, claw-like weaponry. And this is the only place in the entire game that you can actually get these claws. I don't think any of the mannequins in the later level that we're going to go to actually have them. I do not have our item discovery rate item on me, because that's a ring we get a couple of levels later. But I'm just going to drop this just in case. I'm not going to come back here because those claws are kind of cool because they're so unique, and because they make you look like, they kind of look like Predator claws, to be honest, from the Schwarzenegger movie. So that's definitely cool. But, yeah, they're kind of a hard drop. I remember I had to come back here many times in order to get it. There's also a trap here, you'll see. There are a couple of traps in the later level, too. And there's only one more of these guys, so you only have 3 chances, and that's after that difficult jump. So, that's, yeah, see, I didn't get the drop. So, there's really not a whole lot of point to coming down here. The only other thing down here that you can get is a heavy crossbow plus 3. However, as I mentioned earlier, you really are not going to be using crossbows unless you're deliberately running kind of a cosplay-ish sort of build with them. And I think that I am probably going to pop back to Majula and grab a level or 2, and then we can continue exploring the Earthen Peak. The Earthen Peak was created by a very strange, vain queen that we will meet as the boss of this level, named Mitha, the Baneful Queen. And I think they're trying to imply that her vanity is somehow linked to the horrible poison that's all around there, and she seems to almost be, I don't know, mining poison or refining it in some way. I can't quite tell what she's doing there. But she seems to really, really love it and actually nourish herself off of poison. And we're going to have to talk a bit more about that a little bit. And I think I'm actually going to make myself alive, because I don't quite like being zombified. Although, I am getting very attached to this hat. I really enjoy it. I think it looks very swashbucklery. I should also mention, I don't think I talked about this the other day, about Rosabeth over here. Just like with Cloanne, she has something of a story, because she is related to Carillion of the Fold, if you remember from a very long while ago. She's not related, they're not related. I mean, they had a master-apprentice relationship, and apparently they do nothing with it. You know, they leave themselves, we don't know exactly what happened, but they had a master-apprentice relationship and are separated. I don't know if they intended to separate, if one of them left the other one, I'm not really sure. but they knew one another, and Carillion, if you unlock him, sits right over here and does nothing. He just sits over here, and she's over there, and they never interact. They never talk to one another, which kind of happens with the wizards in Dark Souls 1, but there's sort of a reason for that they explain, but there's no reason for the cheerful, happy Rosabeth not to meet Carillion. I mean, it makes no sense at all. But what are you going to do? It seems like they started half a dozen things and finished maybe one of them when it comes to these characters. And even the one that they finished, which was Lucatiel, was not especially good. The next area, Lower Earthen Peak, is an area I really enjoy. It feels much more like an old-fashioned Souls game because it has that verticality, that confusing nature. You're making a lot of twists and turns, and you don't quite know where you are at any given point. There are also a bunch of these mannequin enemies, but these mannequin enemies have daggers and a kind of curved sword called a falcata. They don't call it a falcata in the game. They also have these bucklers here, and you can get their armor. And this falcata, was actually an ancient Mediterranean, I think an Iberian weapon, perhaps? I'm not sure about that. There's a fatty back there. And this falcata, it's not called a falcata in the game, it's called a mannequin saber. It's a really cool-looking weapon, because I love the classical world, probably even more so than the medieval world. And I think it just looks really cool. It is, however, a dex weapon, rather than a... I didn't think I was close enough to that pot to get hit there. This is some amber herbs. Oh, no, it isn't. Radiant Life Gem. I really love the classical world, and that's really from the older-fashioned classical era rather than the modern one. And this is the other enemy we're going to be fighting in the game in this level. They are called Grave Wardens, I believe, and they have a very strange-looking set. What exactly the Grave Wardens are doing here is a little bit unclear. I have not heard anyone explain this to my satisfaction, because the Grave Wardens do show up in an actual grave towards the end of the game, and they make sense there, but what are they doing here? It almost seems like there's no point to it. Their shield is pretty crummy looking, and they do drop a spear which is infused with dark. So there are enemies on the side here shooting arrows at us. So just be careful of that, more of those mannequin guys. But what exactly, and if you're a Hexer character who wants to use a spear, this is one of your choices. There's another choice, actually, that you can get. I'm too used to using the great sword or the great club. Feeling pretty hard here. That's the falcata I was talking about that they have. Did I get it? No, I did not. They also shoot poison throwing knives at you. And so if you want a spear, you want to be a spear user and a hexer, that's like doubling down on trollishness in Dark Souls 2. Oh, come on! What happened there was I got hit in the face with the arrow there, and it staggered me. I'm not sure if I'm crazy about that. The stagger animation in this game is kind of ridiculous. It's over the top. I don't really care for it. There are also some interesting things you can do with levers here. I think this might close a door in this section. There's a mannequin down there, but we're going to come up from the other direction later on and get that. But what these Grave Wardens are doing here, I don't know. I also think their armor looks especially stupid, so... You could actually wear the lower half, the leggings to that, are actually shorts. Yeah, they're like little kid shorts that you can wear. So if you wanted to go in there in like boxers and fight the enemy, or more like Victorian little kid stuff. Now here's a big criticism about the Earthen Peak that I totally agree with. Oh, this looks cool out here though, I really like that. Look at this over here. There is an iron windmill turning, I don't know if big windmills are fashioned of iron, or the poles are anyway, not the blades, but it's clearly metal. There's no way that you can construe that as being anything but metal. However, if you go over here and light a torch, you can actually set that ablaze like this. And how in God's name are you supposed to know that that can be set on fire? That's like saying an iceberg is warm, and like saying, oh, you're supposed to know it. There's no way on earth you could have known that. It is ridiculous. It makes no sense. It's kind of neat to burn it down and a good use of finally of the torch mechanic, but how are you supposed to know it? How? There's no incentive for you to even be using a torch in this area because it's brightly lit. It was a really, really crummy design choice, and it can't be justified. There is a trap nearby here. Where are you? I think you are here. Yes, you are. And there's another mannequin behind there, and you can get a mannequin mask. Now, remember, these mannequins are headless. However, this is what their mask would look like. A lot of people seem to like this mask. I've seen it quite a few places online, but it looks kind of ridiculous to me. You actually look, I think this looks like the robot in the Styx song, Mr. Roboto. Yeah, you kind of look like that. But anyway, let's move on here. We have to go meet a surly man from the West Country named Gilligan. I don't know what this guy's doing here, and I don't like him, and he's a scumbag, but let's go quickly talk to him.
Shush. You'll be just dead quiet. I'm on the run. Don't keep me away.
He has an especially ridiculous haircut there. A weird beard. I don't like it. And what's that little bandana over his neck? It looks a little too feminine for me with that hair.
It's got death all over it.
Can't get his armor either. Not that I would wear it, but just pointing that out.
You want to climb this?
Although it looks a little like a modified version of the bandit armor.
I can let you lather. Why, yep. Have you no gravity? I let you.
Now, I don't usually do this, but I just want to show you this so we can talk to him afterwards. He will put a ladder down for us to go get a piece of twinkling titanite. However, it's a complete scam, because you don't need to do that. If you have the silver cat ring, you can just jump down there. And I bet even if you didn't have the silver cat ring, you probably could still just jump down there if you had a good amount of health. Although you cannot get back up, you have homeward bones. So who cares? Yeah, you don't. I'm gonna put the cat ring on and show you. I think it's just twinkling. See, I didn't even take a sliver of damage. There's no point to having that ladder there, but I just wanted to talk to him after this. Oh, and a Pharaoh's Lockstone, a piece of twinkling titanite. Before the DLC was released, you wanted to get every single piece of twinkling titanite you could. But in the DLC, they kind of threw a bunch of it at you, which they should have, because, you know, it was a little too rare, but that's another thing. Ugh, why is he grabbing his belly like that? Was he pregnant? It's disgusting. The prostration gesture. That's something common that the bandit people, including Patches, teaches you in the first game. And he will send you bandit-type stuff. A reinforced club, whip, claws, wooden shield. The wooden shield is actually pretty darn good. It was better in Dark Souls 1, though, because it did 93% physical reduction. The claws are a really interesting weapon that make you look like Wolverine, and you can dual-wield them and power stance them. However, they're really more for a challenge run, I think, or a unique cosplay kind of run. They're not terribly useful. They were okay to use one-handed with a shield in Dark Souls 1, which I did during a playthrough once. They're highly dex weapons, by the way. The whip is, I don't think, very good. I don't think they did whips good in either Souls game. In Dark Souls 1 they weren't good, in this one they weren't good, although they might have actually been better in Dark Souls 1. You never get the feeling that you're wielding the vampire killer from Castlevania, unfortunately. You just don't have that feeling to it. The reinforced club was actually one of the best weapons in Dark Souls 1. It was a great, great weapon. It was if you powered that up to +10 and then made it lightning +4 or 5, you were solid for the whole game. You could defeat Ornstein's Smell with that, and that's what I did with my Soul Level 1 run character. In this game, not so much. You're really, especially in the DLC, you almost are required to have huge, beastly weapons to do heavy amounts of damage. Now here we have the bandit armor. It's called the black leather armor. I really like it. I also like this assassin's mask to it. I might wear this in a later episode, so I'm going to buy it. Don't feel like you have to buy anything now, because after we defeat the boss of this area, he will return to Majula, and you can buy whatever you want there. And this is just some miscellaneous stuff. Aromatic ooze you can buy an unlimited amount of. This ladder miniature here, however, is that's part of something that happens at the end of the game. Don't bother buying this until then. And knives that cause bleeding. Not that important. Let's talk to him now. No, I haven't. Monster Lady, heavens. The monster we're going to fight is, I'll let you know now, it's Medusa. It's just Medusa, which has been criticized before. That it's not really a unique enemy. However, there was a Hydra in Dark Souls 1, so, you know, it's not like they haven't done that before. They've just taken literally word for word something from Greek myth. And they did take a Chimera also. Although they did change that up a little bit and made it look a little unique, unlike this Medusa. What happened to this woman is she was a human princess who was married to a man that cheated on her, and she was extremely vain, and the combination of her anger at her husband's infidelity and her vanity turned her into this hideous monstrosity that feeds on poison. And countless kingdoms. That little talk about the fire and burning, I think, is supposed to be a hint about how the heck are you supposed to know to burn something made of metal? That's like trying to freeze ice. You can't do it. This little area is a trap zone, if you'll take a look up there. And this little platform. This is an elevator that we can move with that thing over there. And we're just going to get on top of it. And we can get a shield up here in a chest. And it is a familiar one. Those guys behind us are going to rage and attack, but I don't even think they can hit us from over there. So don't worry about it. We have the Mirage shield. That's actually Lucatiel's shield, which I will put on now. It's not an especially good shield. It's worse than the one I have now. But what the heck. I'll do it to change things up a bit. And we're going to pull this again. When I first came through here, I didn't understand what you had to do. So I came over here, waited for it to go up. I went down here and grabbed this item. And then I realized, oh my god, I can't get back. What am I going to do? But what you have to do is just go over here. I don't know why I didn't think of that. I think I was just, I actually laughed it off because I thought that Patches had done it. A man that we will be meeting yet again in just a moment. Once we upgrade this claymore a little bit, it's going to be considerably better than what we have now. And then what it is doing now, which is kind of crummy compared to the Great Sword and the Great Club. Patches!